Social media and technology have become significant factors in our lives that shape our culture, transform how we live, and beyond. And it's here to stay, no doubt. This is such an important topic as we look at the state of current and future mental health concerns. Our next panel discussion is led by Dr. Kaya Connor, Associate Professor in the Department of Mental Health Law and Policy at the University of South Florida. Dr. Kaya also serves as the Interim Clinical Director and Coordinator of BLHF's Provider Training and Outreach. She'll be conversing with clinical psychologist Dr. Vivid and founder and CEO of Jubilee Incorporated, Dr. Sorrell Robertson. They are offering some great tools. You don't want to miss this.
Hello and welcome. I'm so excited about this conversation today and really excited to introduce my guests. My first guest for today is Dr. Ashley Elliott, affectionately known as Dr. Vivid of Vivid Innovations Consulting, LLC. Vivid has been providing wellness services in the DC metropolitan area for over 10 years. She has a global reach through positive social media with her podcast, Vividly Speaking with Dr. Vivid. And her mission is to empower, encourage, and enlighten by spreading a message that emphasizes the importance of mental health and wellness. So welcome, Dr. Vivid.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Dr. Kai.
Absolutely. And our second guest is Dr. Sorrell Robertson, the founder of Jubilee web and mobile app. Jubilee is a platform and network that aims to increase equitable access to healthcare, ultimately focused on improving the outcomes for marginalized and underserved groups while providing online communities of peer support, especially for Black, Indigenous people of color, and LGBTQIA plus communities. So Vivid and Sorrell, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about an issue that is complicated. We can look at the trajectory of social media and its usage, and as that rises, we also can note the escalation in youth issues of depression, anxiety, feelings of being lonely and isolated. But there's two sides to this, right? Because social media was also one of the biggest parts of what kept young people feeling connected to each other during the pandemic. And digital platforms replaced, in many ways, traditional classrooms and helped to fuel learning during that time. Post-COVID, the data and what we're seeing clinically tells a complex story. It's definitely a conundrum. So today, let's explore some of the benefits, but also what to watch out for. So Vivid, let's start with you. You have mastered the balance of mental health connections in music, pop culture, our cultures, and daily living through your positive presence on social media. In your personal and clinical experience, exactly how has social media impacted our youth in a positive way?
Oh, well, social media, especially during the pandemic, has given our youth the chance to connect with people that they didn't have the opportunity to, whether it because these people are across the world, across the globe, or I didn't have the resources to chime in and connect with them. So look at these friends that I'm having. Also, representation. There are so many underserved communities that don't have access to certain entertainment value, certain tools and resources. And social media has become this great toolbox for youth to be able to tap in things that aren't readily available in their communities through the global community. And it's just so amazing to see. And it also has provided many of our youth with the chance to really get their creative juices flowing. I remember a time where I was just recording videos in my room and just joking about it with my cousins. And now you can record a video and all your internet cousins can join in on the fun and the positivity. So it is creating a sense of belonging, a sense of community, and a sense of I can research and find things on my own beyond a book, a classroom. It's so great.
Wow, absolutely. I love that you talked about that importance of being able to be connected to a global community, right? And having access to resources that we might not have readily available in our own communities. And the other exciting piece about that ability for creative expression that's really become booming right now. So that was a lot of positive things. But Sorel, let's move to you and talk about the other side of this, because you've worked extensively with psychoeducational and neuropsychological evaluations and therapy at Summit Center for Children and Adolescents and with adults. And you've really specialized in ages K through 12. And as we mentioned earlier, created your own digital platform. So let's look at the opposite effect on our youth. What do you think are some of the primary negative impacts of this boom in social media?
Yes. Well, first, thank you for having me, Dr. Kaya. I'm happy to join the conversation. This is such a timely and important topic right now. As you mentioned, right, I work primarily with young people, both in private practice and as a school psychologist as well, right? And I know firsthand, right, how social media often exacerbates pre-existing mental health issues for young people who may suffer from anxiety, depression, body dysmorphia, right, suicide ideation, loneliness, and a number of other presenting problems. All too often, the approach to teenage social media use is oftentimes haphazard, sometimes thoughtless, and usually complicated by the fact that some believe social media is a remedy for social isolation, when in fact we know that there was a recent study by the University of Pittsburgh that found that teens who use social media heavily are 3 times as likely to feel socially isolated. So technology has also made content that used to exist only in print subscriptions, right, like Teen Vogue, right, much more accessible. And we know that a growing number of influencers are distributing hashtag body goals that are oftentimes toxic, unrealistic, right? We know Facebook recently came under fire for ignoring evidence that Instagram harms young girls' mental health and perceptions of their body image, right? Mm-hmm. So this effect may be compounded, especially for young Black females, right? Young Black women in particular, who often also struggle with not seeing themselves reflected and broadly accepted in mainstream media, right? Another study done at Yale School of Medicine also found that Black teen girls using platforms like Twitter and Snapchat to navigate dating often experience racism and bias, such as being associated with stereotypes, right, cultural invalidation, and oftentimes being accused of, quote unquote, acting white. So many Black teen girls also believe that their hair type, for example, or skin tone may not be valued because of these mainstream narratives that perpetuate white and normative beauty standards. So coupled with the fact that unrealistic standards of beauty, for example, are marketed as wellness, right, it's no wonder teens are experiencing adverse effects.
Wow. That was a lot of important and critical information that you provided us, and really does show the other side to this issue. And it really is, as we mentioned earlier, this kind of conundrum, because as you said, there were a lot of people sort of identifying social media as this remedy for social isolation. And then on the other hand, we're hearing these messages that it's actually contributing to social isolation. In May of this year, the US Surgeon General sort of raised an alarm on this, speaking of this new pandemic in America, stating that the impact of loneliness and isolation on personal and public health can be just as detrimental as other physical issues like smoking and obesity. So really, how do social media and digital technology contribute to loneliness and isolation? Sorel, we've heard some of your thoughts. Vivid, wondering your thoughts on how Black youth may in fact be particularly vulnerable to this. What are some ways that social media and technology can complicate mental health challenges among young Black people?
Absolutely. As Dr. Robertson was saying, we definitely have data that talks about how the effects of colorism in social media, body typing, and also there is a large amount of media that is strictly for entertainment and gossip value that is targeted towards Black youth, because they want consumer information. They want to be able to say, hey, this is our target demographic. This is what we want to sell to. We want to be able to sell these clothes, sell this lifestyle, and get them to jump at these influencers so these influencers could get paid. So when we talk about young Black youth, we're often faced with underserved populations when it comes to our mental health and emotional wellness needs. So if I'm looking on Instagram or Snapchat and all I'm seeing is body goals, and there are these specific young women who are displayed, and I'm being told that I have to look like this, and I don't have any emotional or social emotional resources to give me the other side of that conversation or to pour into me, I am now a little bit more vulnerable for things that affect my self-esteem and my confidence, and I'm more at risk for depressive symptoms or even anxiety related symptoms. And then you have certain things that are targeted towards, I'll say specifically our Black men, our Black young boys, that, again, entertainment value. It's a lot of consumer shoes, clothes. Of course, we love listening to our favorite artists, but what about images of I can do things outside of these entertainment slots? I can pursue STEM related things or art related things, nature and therapeutic related things. But what you see is many of the companies that are getting partnerships with these social media platforms, looking at it from consumer money selling and not the wellness of the consumer, especially for the younger folk. And then we have other things that are definitely still being used in the marketing arena when it comes to things like vaping, when it comes to drinking certain alcoholic beverages. They are disproportionately marketed to Black youth. And if you have Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok recording how you interact and engage on a platform, this is the thing. Your algorithm is going to give you more of that negative entertainment value. And what you have is more children, more youth being exposed to the negative side as opposed to the other things that their non-Black peers are getting on their feeds.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. Those algorithms, and just thinking about the power of sort of our capitalist society marketing, what our young people are being exposed to, and that our young Black youth are being targeted in a way and being exposed to a lot of negative messaging that has an impact on their mental health and wellness. Wow. Thank you for that. So, Sorelle, thinking about this and in your experience as a clinician, what do you think the majority of therapists, how are they dealing with the Council of Mental Welfare regarding the impact of social media and technology and these increases in isolation and social, and among our young people?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So we know that COVID-19 triggered an increase in depression and anxiety symptoms by about 25%. So I know mental health providers, speaking for myself, colleagues, we've seen the increase, right, in referrals and in office appointments. So I think most therapists are working to treat symptoms of depression and anxiety, right, body dysmorphia, sometimes even suicide ideation and loneliness, again, that are oftentimes exacerbated by social media and sometimes even caused by social media. So I can give you an anecdote. I have a young Black male client that I work with who's suffering from depression, loneliness, and he, has a bit of a warped view of women and masculinity, and it's multi-layered, many different reasons, all largely due to what, he's consumed on YouTube and the channels that he watches that perpetuate a lot of toxic ideologies about what it means to be a man. So I see him grappling with kind of what he's consumed and internalized. So now I'm stepping in, right, to help him unlearn those pretty entrenched ideologies about himself and the world around him. So, in addition to, yes, treating the anxiety, depression symptoms as well, we also now, are working towards helping to unlearn a lot of the messaging that's been internalized by what, youth and teens, children are consuming and viewing on social media as well.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple follow-ups for you, because obviously when we're thinking about therapy and treating our young people, we're not doing that in a vacuum or alone. It takes a village, right? And so we've got a lot of parents, guardians, grandparents out there who are raising our young people and aren't sure what they should be doing about some of these issues. I'm sure that you get these questions in your practice. So I wonder, what advice would you give to parents, guardians about things like screen time limits or balancing social media with real life social interaction?
Yes, this is by far one of the most common questions that I get from parents, especially of younger children, who are figuring out screen time boundaries, right? How much screen time is too much screen time is a common question that I oftentimes get. So I oftentimes talk about monitoring social media in the same way that we talk about monitoring our consumption of sugar, for example, right? So everything in moderation. There really is no one-size-fits-all recommendation for all families. It depends on so many factors, right? Your family values, how much time, right, and attention, right? Do both parents work, right? So again, no one-size-fits-all, but limiting it to a reasonable amount of time after homework is done, perhaps, right? So helping your kiddo hold off until, to delay the gratification of the social media as long as they can until after they complete their work or their homework, or perhaps only, limiting social media to weekends, right, for 1 hour, or sometimes my usual recommendations. But again, it really does depend on the family and other factors. Common Sense Media is a really great resource that I oftentimes share with parents that, really does provide a lot of detailed recommendations for parents. Right. So we know in one sitting on social media, you can see death, right? Something funny, you can see something sad, you can see something hilarious, something that inspires you, right? All within the span of 1 minute, scrolling up and down TikTok or Instagram. That is not healthy, right? The human brain, especially for children and adolescents, are not meant to switch emotions 10 to 12 times within a 3-minute time span. So it really is information and emotional overload without having time to process each emotion. So to help children deal with the impacts of that, I oftentimes encourage parents to step in, monitor their children's or their child's social media accounts and the pages that they follow, right? And I oftentimes encourage parents to feed their children positivity away from screens so that their children feel heard, seen, and validated.
Those are really, really great suggestions. And I also love what you said about there's no sort of one size fits all approach, because I think so often, people are looking for really specific guidelines and that there's just a one solution for everything. And often there isn't, right? Every family is different. Every family has different structure, value systems, opportunities to engage with their kids. So really figuring out what works for each family and doing what parents and guardians can to really try to stay engaged and know more about what it is that their young people are watching and engaging with on social media so that they can protect them in many senses and create some of those additional boundaries. I think those are really, really great points. And I guess a follow-up question to that might be, obviously we could talk about the fact that there are certain healthy usages, right, of social media. But you've also talked about in your own experience and clinical practice that you have seen young people coming to you where their mental health concerns have been exacerbated by their social media use. So what are some warning signs or some things that parents and guardians could be looking out for that might suggest that their loved young one is spending too much time online in general? And that could be social media, but also things like online gaming and other kinds of social content.
Absolutely. So some of the things that I tend to share, right, signs and symptoms to look for, right, is their attention in real life decreasing, right? Is it impacting school, like sports, right, at home while they're doing homework? Is it harder for them to kind of stay tuned in, right, and to stay engaged in the work that they're doing? Are you noticing a sudden drop in their grades, right? Their GPA, right? At school, their performance overall? Are you noticing any increased isolation from peers or from the family, right? Any increased irritability beyond the norm of kind of normal teenage irritability? So we know, for example, with clinical depression, right, irritability is actually, a very specific feature of depression that isn't oftentimes what we see among adults who suffer from depression, right? Sleep, right? Are they lacking sleep or are they sleeping in too much, right? Also, is there a sudden lack of interest in activities that they used to really be interested in? So those are some of the general things that families, parents, guardians, caregivers can look for.
That's great. That's such helpful advice. And I appreciate too what you said about our recognition that the symptoms that we may typically associate with a mental health condition in adults may not present themselves that same way in young people. And that irritability piece is really important. How many times do we hear parents complaining about the irritability of their kid not maybe recognizing that it could be attributed to something else that might be going on that deserves clinical attention. So I hope that parents will really take heed to what you've said there and look into how that may be impacting their child. So, okay, we've talked a lot about some of the dangers, the challenges, and, sort of, what you're seeing clinically, and also ways that we can get involved in helping to monitor and create some boundaries to ensure healthy utilization of technology and social media. And Vivid, we also know that you mentioned earlier sort of this creativity, right? It's really important to let young people represent themselves creatively and freely. And social media is allowing a lot of avenues to do that. So what advice can you give to parents and guardians out there, relative to best practices for monitoring their young person's activities, but while still allowing them that personal expression and interaction?
Oh, my goodness. It's engagement. One of the things that I love talking about in client sessions and even with my own children is what is on your For You page? What's going on? What's speaking to you? What's giving you joy? What's really making you feel like, I could do that? Because you're not just getting the whiff of this is what they're looking on online. This is what they're interested in right now. And it creates more conversations within the household, rather than having one conversation about how long have you been on that iPad? How long have you been on that phone? What's so intriguing about this artist? Oh, you love some Ice Spice, girl. How many videos have you watched? And what is the music doing to your spirit? Why do you connect with this person so much? How many videos have you been watching about, young creators and young entrepreneurs, and what makes them so relatable and makes you feel like I can do this too? What's empowering you? Always have a conversation about the why and not just the what they're doing. Because it also creates more avenue for them to get off of the social media and their technological devices to explore other options or have conversations at home or in school in their community about how can I create this creative stew, this gumbo that we can feed each other and continue to give ourselves joy. Also, be mindful that if they're creating and they're wanting to post, get in there. Come on, mom, dad, caregivers, help be the producers, help write the scripts, help be a part of the cast, and give them the chance to see that this is something that my family supports. I love seeing videos from my clients and they're like, this is what my mom helped me do. This is what my cousin helped me do, because that shows that you believe in something that they're interested in. And they'll be more likely to let you in and have really open and honest conversations about how they're using this and why. And my favorite thing to talk about with parents and their children, their caregivers and their children, is do a social media audit. Talk about the things that you feel are positive. Talk to them about the creators that are like, oh, they're cringy, I don't really like them, and why. And monthly, delete those accounts, unfollow those people, and even block the things in your settings that you feel aren't giving you joy, aren't making you feel like, hey, I'm being seen. And speaking of seen, remember, for our little Black boys and girls, you are contributing to representation, which really matters when you're posting these things, when you're engaging with your family, and you're putting out the content that some of us are really longing for.
Wow. I love so much about what you just said. I really also, I'd never thought about that before, but the focus on the why and not just the what. Why are our young people so drawn to certain things? And how can we then use that as a way to better engage and be more involved with our young person and become a part of that process with them so that they can then contribute to the sharing of positive messages on social media? That's amazing. And you gave a lot of really great tips for how to safely nurture a budding social media or digital app entrepreneur, which is great. Okay, well, so now I'd like to ask you both, and Vivid, we'll start with you, to just for a moment speak candidly and directly to our young people. What advice would you give them right now about social media and technology? You could speak to the dangers and or the benefits of responsible use, but what would you say to them if you could talk to them?
When it comes to content that you are consuming, think of it like food. If it's making you feel good, we want to really sit in that. But if it's making you feel uncomfortable, if it's making you feel like you don't know if this is something that you should be really taking in, you have the awareness and you have the ability to say, this isn't for me. If anything occurs that you feel isn't aligning with your values, your beliefs, it's okay to distance yourself from that, even if other people are interested in it. Your safety is the most important thing. We love to have fun, but your safety is what matters. And if something is making you feel unsafe or insecure or uncomfortable, please blast it with the community and blast it within your parents' community, blast it within your tribe's community, because we want to make sure that you're getting the best experience possible. We don't want to gatekeep. We just want to make sure that the gate is secure enough for you to open it and close it when you feel it's best for you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vivid. And Sorrel, your words directly to our Black youth.
Absolutely. Similar to Vivid, I think we're on the same page here. Be mindful of how much you consume and the type of content you're consuming. Pay attention to the thoughts that pop into your head and your inner dialogue with yourself as you're scrolling through social media. If you're noticing you're becoming really critical of yourself, or maybe even comparing yourself to others, it's time to take a break and even go through, like Vivid mentioned, and remove some of the accounts and influencers that you're following, right? Use timers to help you limit how much time you're spending on each app. I use the timers for myself, right? Be sure to follow uplifting content, right? We the Urban is one of my favorites. And of course, a shameless plug for Jubilee, right? Where we also provide positive mental health messages for our community.
Right. Well, this was a wonderful conversation. I learned a lot, and I'm sure that others watching are going to learn so much from both of you. So thank you for your time today. We are so grateful to you both for your work in social media and technology space, as well as for your culturally competent care of Black youth in our community. So it was a pleasure talking to you both today. Thank you so much for joining us.
They were amazing, right? I told you. Thank you again so much to Dr. Kaya, Dr. Vivid, and Dr. Robertson. We could not have done this conversation without hearing your voices at the helm. So thank you for that. Now, be reminded that the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation takes pride in investing in our community. Nurturing our young adults is a top priority, and building a pipeline for aspiring mental health professionals is essential.
My name is Dr. Kaya Connor. I am the interim clinical director and the provider training and outreach coordinator for the Boris L. Henson Foundation. Mental health challenges are common and impact many of us in the Black community. However, African Americans are the least likely to seek treatment for many reasons, but one major problem is the lack of diversity in healthcare. Studies show that the psychology workforce is 85% white and only 2% Black. These numbers can be daunting and often deter Black people from seeking care due to the lack of Black providers. We may also lack trust in sharing our experiences out of fear of being misdiagnosed or labeled as inadequate or weak. This lack of representation in the mental health field can make it hard for those seeking a therapist to find the help that they need when they need it. Another challenge is that not all clinicians are trained to be aware or curious about how culture and race and ethnicity impact a person's mental and emotional well-being. Our goal is to increase the number of culturally competent therapists by offering scholarships to African Americans who are interested in pursuing a career in the mental health field. Investing in our community and nurturing our young adults is a top priority. The donations that we receive allow us to provide academic opportunities and serve as a vital resource to empower African American students pursuing careers in the mental health field with their educational expenses. Both our legacy and heritage scholarships will ensure an impact on generations to come and can be named annually or in perpetuity. Our annual legacy scholarship is $10,000, and our heritage scholarship, which is endowed, at $500,000. If you want to apply, you can send an email inquiry to scholarship@borislhensonfoundation.org. And if you want to donate, you can text scholarship to 707070. We hope that you'll partner with us on this great effort to enhance the diversity of our mental health workforce and continue to provide great service to the Black community.
Hi, my name is Karen Joubert, and I am honored to have been selected as a recipient of the Boris L. Henson Foundation Mental Health Scholarship Award. I am currently a licensed professional counselor supervisor working as a clinician in a university counseling center, and I also facilitate mental health support groups with a local nonprofit organization. The cost of education is high, and I'm thankful for this opportunity because it helps overcome a financial barrier towards supporting our Black African American community. So thank you, Boris L. Henson Foundation, for this scholarship award. And again, I feel so honored to be a recipient.
Hi there, my name is Andrea Connell, and I am a clinical psychology doctoral student studying at Capella University, and I am a two-time award recipient of the Boris L. Henson Foundation Scholarship. So I am forever grateful and thankful to the organization, as well as to Taraji, for having such an opportunity for people of color to apply for a scholarship that continue to push in the academic sense of studying in the field of mental health, and also professionally in the field once we have completed our journey. As a doctoral student, you really lose a lot of time, but for a great purpose, to be able to be a pillar in the community advocating for mental health. So I am forever thankful. This scholarship has given so much to me beyond just a financial aspect, and I want to thank the organization and encourage you to apply if you come across the application. Thank you once again.
Our championed integrative wellness providers are here now to share a little bit of joy with you today. It's time for a joy break with our joy salons. At BLHF, the modalities of integrative wellness are key components to total mind-body connection care. We encourage you to make daily investments into your very own joy account. Make it a priority every single day. The dividends are worth it. Always remember to pour back in that which you pour out. Our joy salons today feature a chair yoga routine that will feel good to every single body. And you don't even have to get up out of your chair to feel great. Or you can just close your eyes and reset to the proven benefits of sound therapy with singing bowls. If perfect silence is what you are craving for an escape, we also have a guided meditation. Even more importantly, please give it a try on your own tomorrow. And remember, you can tune in to our website to find information on how to watch all 3 Joy Salons. The Joy Salons are open now. Enjoy, and we'll meet back here shortly.